There are films that become timeless treasures not because of their box office success, but because of the stories they tell and the actors who bring them to life. Out to Sea, 1997, is one of those rare gems. On the surface, it is a light-hearted romantic comedy set aboard a cruise ship, pairing the iconic duo Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in their final collaboration together. Beneath its comedic charm, however, the film has grown into something deeper over time, a bittersweet reminder of a generation of actors whose careers shaped Hollywood, and who have since left us. Watching Out to Sea today feels less like a comedy and more like a living memory, a final curtain call for some of cinema's most beloved faces. The movie tells the story of two aging friends who sneak aboard a luxury cruise ship as dance hosts, each with different intentions, one searching for love, the other simply trying to make a quick buck. What unfolds is a delightful mix of mistaken identities, ballroom mishaps, and the kind of wry humor only Lemmon and Matthau could deliver. Yet what makes the film so poignant is that it captured, almost unknowingly, the twilight years of its cast. For several of the stars, Out to Sea was not just another project, it was their last chance to shine before fate called them away. Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, two legends of stage and screen, had already defined comedy through decades of unforgettable pairings. Their chemistry was effortless, their timing impeccable. In Out to Sea, you can sense the history between them, the kind of bond that only comes from a lifetime of collaboration. To see them joking, dancing, and fumbling through romance feels like a gift, though watching now also carries a tinge of sadness knowing that within just a few short years after the film's release, both men would pass away. Alongside them was Edward Mulhare, best known for his suave roles in television and film, who tragically did not live to see the movie's premiere. His death just weeks before the release adds a haunting undertone, making Out to Sea both a celebration of his talent and an unintended farewell. Donald O'Connor, the legendary song and dance man who once tapped his way across cinema history in Singin' in the Rain, also returned here in what would become his final feature role. And Gloria DeHaven, the sparkling star of MGM musicals from Hollywood's golden age, appeared for the last time on screen in this very film. Together, these five actors created more than a comedy, they left behind a time capsule. Watching Out to Sea today is like opening an old scrapbook, filled with laughter, nostalgia, and the faces of performers we will never see again. Their lives remind us of the fleeting nature of fame, the inevitability of time, and the beauty of cinema as a vessel for memory. What began as a light comedy set on the open seas has since transformed into a heartfelt tribute to the end of an era. Jack Lemmon, the eternal everyman of comedy and heart. Jack Lemmon was more than just an actor, he was a symbol of the everyman, the charmingly flawed yet endlessly relatable character who made audiences laugh, cry, and see themselves on the big screen. By the time he starred in Out to Sea in 1997, Lemmon had already carved out a career spanning over 5 decades, from unforgettable classics like Some Like It Hot and The Apartment to the moving drama Save the Tiger, for which he won his second Academy Award. His presence in Out to Sea was not simply another role, it was a reunion with his lifelong collaborator Walter Matthau, and a reminder of the magic they created whenever they shared the screen. In the film, Lemmon played Herb Sullivan, a widower coaxed by his mischievous brother-in-law into joining a cruise as a dance host. As always, Lemmon imbued his character with warmth, vulnerability, and impeccable comic timing. He had a gift for making awkwardness endearing, turning even a simple stumble into a moment of charm. Watching him on that ship, fumbling through romance and rediscovering the possibility of love, felt like watching an old friend learn to smile again. His chemistry with Matthau, by then an institution in itself, was as sharp as ever, filled with the kind of playful banter that only years of genuine friendship could produce. But beneath the laughter there was also a sense of farewell. Lemmon was in the twilight of his career, his health quietly declining even as he continued to deliver heartfelt performances. Just 4 years after Out to Sea, in June 2001, he passed away at the age of 76. The news sent shockwaves through Hollywood, as if the world had lost a beloved uncle whose presence had always been reassuring. To this day, Lemmon's performances continue to resonate, not only for their artistry but for the humanity he infused into every role. In many ways, Out to Sea feels like a closing chapter in his long story, a lighter, softer goodbye that allowed him to leave audiences with laughter rather than sorrow. Jack Lemmon remains an eternal figure of Hollywood, remembered for his humility, his humor, and his ability to remind us all that being human means stumbling, laughing, and carrying on with grace. Walter Matthau, the grumpy charmer who made cynicism lovable. If Jack Lemmon was Hollywood's eternal everyman, then Walter Matthau was the gruff counterpoint who made cynicism irresistible. Together they formed one of the greatest comedic duos in film history, a pairing that delighted audiences for decades. By the time Out to Sea, 1997, came along, Matthau had already cemented his place as the king of the sardonic one-liner, the man who could scowl his way into your heart. His role as Charlie Gordon in this film was classic Matthau, sharp-tongued, scheming, but ultimately lovable in spite of himself. Mathau's character tricks his widowed brother-in-law, played by Lemmon, into becoming dance hosts on a cruise, all in the hopes of meeting wealthy women. It's the perfect setup for Mathau's dry wit and bemused disdain. Watching him on screen, you can see why he and Lemmon were such a perfect match. Where Lemmon brought nervous warmth, Matthau countered with sly sarcasm. The balance created sparks, a dance of opposites that somehow always found harmony. What makes his performance in Out to Sea especially poignant is the knowledge of how close it came to the end of his journey. Just 3 years later, in July 2000, Matthau passed away at the age of 79. For fans who grew up watching him transform grouchiness into comedy, his death felt like losing a piece of cinema's heart. He was a man who could make an insult sound like affection, who could take the bitter edges of life and turn them into laughter. Beyond his grumpy persona, Matthau was a devoted family man and a consummate professional. Friends often described him as warm, witty, and surprisingly gentle compared to his on-screen characters. That duality is what made him fascinating. He could play the cantankerous old man, yet off-screen, he cared deeply for those around him. Out to Sea may not have been his most celebrated film, but it gave us one last glimpse of the magic he and Lemmon shared, a reminder of why their partnership remains legendary. Walter Matthau's passing marked the end of an era, but his legacy endures in every smirk, every quip, every grumble that somehow made us smile. He proved that even cynicism could carry a kind of warmth, and that comedy, at its best, comes from the raw truth of being human. Edward Mulhare, the gentleman who took his final bow too soon. Edward Mulhare brought to Out to Sea the refined charm that had defined much of his career. Best remembered by many for his role as the debonair widower in the television series The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, and later as Devon Miles, the authoritative figure in Knight Rider, Mulhare had a screen presence that radiated class. His clipped accent, dignified demeanor, and quiet confidence made him the perfect gentleman in whatever role he played. In Out to Sea, he took on the part of Cullen Carswell, a wealthy passenger who becomes entangled in the comic misadventures aboard the ship. What makes Mulhare's involvement in the film so haunting is that he never lived to see it. He passed away on May 24, 1997, just 6 weeks before the movie premiered. For audiences, his appearance in Out to Sea became a posthumous farewell, an unintended final bow from a man who had entertained them for decades. His death from illness at the age of 74 was a quiet loss in Hollywood, overshadowed at the time by bigger headlines, yet it carried enormous weight for those who admired his work. On screen, Mulhare lent the film a touch of sophistication, balancing the bumbling antics of Lemmon and Matthau with a polished elegance. He was the type of actor who didn't need to dominate a scene, instead, he elevated it with subtlety. His characters often projected authority, but there was always a kindness beneath the formality, a twinkle in his eye that suggested warmth behind the gentlemanly exterior. For fans of Knight Rider, seeing him in Out to Sea was especially moving, a reminder of his versatility, his ability to shift seamlessly from television icon to film supporting player. Today, his role in the film stands as a quiet tribute, capturing the very essence of what made him special. While Out to Sea was filled with laughter, Mulhare's presence adds a bittersweet note, as if the film itself knew it was saying goodbye to a distinguished performer. Edward Mulhare's career may not have been filled with blockbuster leads, but he was the kind of actor who gave every project credibility and grace. In losing him so close to the film's release, audiences were reminded of how fleeting life can be. Yet his work remains, preserved in film and memory, ensuring that his final bow still echoes with dignity. Donald O'Connor, the song and dance man who took his final curtain call. Few performers embodied the golden spirit of Hollywood musicals quite like Donald O'Connor. With his boyish charm, quick wit, and boundless physical energy, he left an indelible mark on cinema, most famously in Singin' in the Rain, 1952, where his legendary "Make 'em laugh" routine showcased not only his talent but his fearless commitment to entertaining. By the time he appeared in Out to Sea in 1997, O'Connor was a seasoned veteran whose career had spanned vaudeville, radio, film, and television. His role in the film was small, but its significance was immense. It marked his final appearance in a feature film. In Out to Sea, O'Connor played Jonathan, one of the crew's passengers who brought a touch of warmth and familiarity to the ensemble cast. Even though the role did not demand the athletic comedy of his youth, audiences could still catch glimpses of the twinkle in his eye, the easy grace of a man who had once danced across Hollywood's greatest stages. There was a nostalgic quality to seeing him on screen again, a reminder of an era when musicals ruled the box office and O'Connor's smile was synonymous with joy. After decades in show business, O'Connor had faced personal struggles, financial hardships, health issues, and the difficulty of maintaining fame once musicals faded from Hollywood's spotlight. Yet his resilience defined him. He never lost the ability to laugh, to perform, to remind audiences why they had loved him in the first place. His final bow in Out to Sea was subtle, almost unspoken, but for those who recognized him, it carried the weight of history. Donald O'Connor passed away on September 27, 2003, at the age of 78. His death marked the end of a remarkable career that had delighted audiences for generations. Though time and circumstance kept him from the spotlight in his later years, his legacy remains untarnished. Whenever someone revisits Singin' in the Rain, or sees him sharing the screen in his final role, they are reminded of a man who lived to entertain, whose laughter and dance steps are forever captured on film. Out to Sea may not have been his showcase, but it was his last curtain call, a gentle goodbye from a performer who had once made the world laugh and dance with him. Gloria DeHaven, the Golden Age star who shined one last time. Gloria DeHaven was one of the bright faces of MGM's golden era, a singer and actress who graced the screen throughout the 1940s and 1950s with a mix of youthful charm and musical elegance. Born into a vaudeville family, she seemed destined for show business, and her career reflected the changing tides of Hollywood itself. She appeared in musicals like Step Lively and Summer Holiday, her soprano voice and vivacious energy making her a natural fit for the Technicolor dream world that audiences craved during wartime and its aftermath. By the 1990s, DeHaven's time in the spotlight had largely passed, yet her appearance in Out to Sea offered audiences one final glimpse of a bygone era. In the film, she played Vivian, a glamorous cruise passenger whose presence carried the kind of sparkle only a true Hollywood veteran could bring. Though her role was relatively small, it was filled with grace and nostalgia. Almost as if she were carrying the torch of classic cinema onto a modern set. For those who recognized her, seeing DeHaven alongside Lemmon, Matthau, O'Connor, and Mulhare felt like a reunion of old Hollywood royalty, gathered one last time before the curtain fell. DeHaven's personal life, much like many stars of her generation, was marked by highs and lows. She was married multiple times, raised a family, and balanced the challenges of a career in decline as Hollywood shifted away from musicals. Yet her resilience allowed her to continue working in television and stage productions, reminding audiences that her voice and talent had not dimmed with age. Gloria DeHaven passed away on July 30, 2016, at the age of 91. Unlike some of her peers, she lived a long life, but her death still marked the quiet closing of another chapter in Hollywood's story. Watching Out to Sea now, her appearance carries even greater weight. Her final film role, her last smile on screen, preserved forever in a comedy that has grown into a bittersweet time capsule. She remains a symbol of an era when Hollywood was young and musicals were its heartbeat, a reminder that even fleeting roles can shine brightly when carried by a star of true grace. Out to Sea may have been intended as a breezy romantic comedy, but with the passage of time, it has become something far more poignant, a cinematic farewell to 5 stars who helped define their eras. Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau gave us their trademark chemistry one last time, reminding the world why they were one of Hollywood's greatest duos. Edward Mulhare, dignified and graceful, left us just before the film's release, turning his role into a haunting final bow. Donald O'Connor, the song and dance man of another age, quietly took his last curtain call here. And Gloria DeHaven, the golden-voiced actress from MGM's prime, sparkled one final time before stepping off the stage of cinema forever. When we revisit the film today, we don't just laugh at the jokes or smile at the dance numbers, we feel the weight of history. We see legends in their twilight years, still bringing joy, still offering pieces of themselves to audiences who loved them. Their presence transforms Out to Sea into more than a comedy. It becomes a time capsule, capturing not only a story about rediscovering love and laughter but also a final gathering of actors whose lives and careers had touched generations. In that sense, Out to Sea is no longer just a film about 2 men sneaking their way onto a cruise ship. It is about the journey of life itself, the laughter, the romance, the schemes, and ultimately, the inevitability of farewell. The passing of Lemmon, Matthau, Mulhare, O'Connor, and DeHaven reminds us of the fragility of time but also of the permanence of art. They may be gone, but their voices, smiles, and performances sail on, carried forever across the seas of memory. For those who watch it now, the film feels like a gentle reminder: cherish the laughter, treasure the people who make life brighter, and never forget the artists who gave us their all. The cruise may have ended, but their legacy continues to sail, timeless and unsinkable.